So, hi, I'm Liz Coker. And
Kevin Coker. We were out camping for Labor Day weekend out at Silver Lakes near Mount Baker, and we are experienced campers. We've been doing it for decades with our children and even before.
And that night,
we were surprised that night, late at night, when I stepped out for a nature call with the dog. All was quiet, but we immediately, the dog and I, found ourselves in the middle of 3 or 4 coons on the ground, another 10 to 12 that were up in the trees near us. And at first nobody moved, and
Lily was on this collar.
Started to come down, 2 of them out of the trees. There were a total of 4 of them at that point that attacked me and the dog. 2 of them going at the dog and 2 others coming around the side trying to get at me. I was able to kick one, knocked it unconscious, and it stayed down. But the 2, one was on her back and one was underneath. And another one joined the fray, so there were another 2 coming from the left when my wife stepped out and right in the middle of it.
And unfortunately, I didn't have on thick, fat jeans like my husband, so I sustained the first bite was actually an impact hit, and they bit me here. And then the second one was a second impact hit, kind of sneak attacks from the left.
About that time, we had 2 other grown adult men coming to our aid there, and they still didn't back down immediately, but then they did finally disperse, and we were able to assess that she had actually been bitten, and had to make an emergency room trip that required
rabies and vaccinations.
14 shots, 12 in the leg and 2 more in her arms, and then we've got 2 weeks of rabies shots to deal with. But they weren't behaving, as normal raccoons, and in a much larger group than I've ever seen in all my years of hiking and camping.
After talking to several wildlife people, we're really quite convinced, since we saw no kits, we saw no little raccoons, there was no food out there that they were eating. This was a large band of male raccoons, probably, running through, and they just decided that a grown man and his dog was no threat,
no
and that
intimidation.
I was no threat, and that they were going to attack us until we left. That's a terrifying situation, and it went on for, I don't know, 35, 40 seconds. It's hard to kind of gauge it. But our concern is that Whatcom County deal with this as the incident that it is. It is abnormal, absolutely, but people need to know. And we don't want this to happen to some family, especially a family with small children. If we had fallen down, if I had fallen down, I'm sure I would have sustained multiple puncture wounds instead of 6.
Campers next to us with small child. I mean, there's any number of scenarios that could have been much, much worse. But for the animals not to have been intimidated by a human or a human with a dog was very abnormal from what I've experienced.
How many times in Washington that you can find have raccoons attacked someone unprovoked?
Oh, actually, only last year did a woman get attacked down in Lakewood when she was walking her dog in a wooded area, and the dog ran off, and 3 more raccoons chased her and knocked her to the ground by hitting her in the legs.
Chased her as she ran into a neighbor's yard, and it wasn't until her dog came back that they were chased off. But she was bitten multiple times.
She suffered a lot of wounds.
So you may be the 2nd people in a year or more in Washington State to have raccoons attack.
Right.
And they weren't trapped, there were no young, there wasn't any food nearby, so all of the regular indicators that suggest that, hey, this could happen to you if you're not careful, weren't there. They were able to flee if they wanted to, and there was no food available for them. They were just very aggressive.